I am Jason Abraham, the Shadow Teacher 33, and a book I've been reading, almost done with, is this book, Will Smith, autobiography, co-written by Mark Manson, famous author of the classic personal development book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. And it's always funny how spirit works when you're called to read something and there's just the right message there for you when you open up the page. And I've had this book for a couple of years. Got this book out of curiosity. I don't know if anyone remembers all the talk of the Grammys. Was it like 2021, 2022, whenever that year, the infamous Will Smith slap to Chris Rock. And many of the researchers who study occult symbolism and the significance of ritual were breaking down the significance of that event. And me, always curious about that kind of thing, I wanted to know a little bit more about Mr. Will Smith. So I got the book, but it wasn't till last few months that I started reading it. And it is a fascinating tale. And the bigger themes, again, what this channel has really become relevant. This is not so much a channel that talks exclusively about occult symbolism. There are people like Isaac Weishaupt and Jay Dyer who do that so much better than I do. But what I do want to go into is themes of meaning in the human experience, themes of human potential, and the significance of myth in the human existence. And with his story, you hear amazing tales of being the first at many things. First rap artist to get a Grammy. Box office records, being the actor at one time who was the highest paid leading man. Lots of number one movies in the box office, strings of hit after hit after hit. It's a huge life of achievement. But what you find underneath is what drives the will, what's driven Will Smith from his story. This willpower to forge this character that's going to be good enough by what he achieves, by being the entertaining, funny guy. What you find is just a deep need to feel loved, a deep need to feel significant. And this is the story of many celebrities, many performers. It's really this human need to be loved. And I did a video, again, on love and freedom, these two paths of the human experience. Love being the need to be in relationship, and freedom, need for individuation, need to go on one's path. And you have the right hand and the left hand path. The right hand being the path of service to others, the path of surrendering one's ego, laying down one's arms to be at service to the greater good. And then the left hand path, service to self, service to the ego. Themes, again, of freedom being the left hand path, and love. But the hero's journey is, in fact, it's a path of individuation, call to adventure that comes back to love at the end. It's ultimately a right-hand path story. And what you find, again, with Will Smith, you find a guy who found what he was good at, and he optimized what he was good at, to get the reward for that. And his desire, his hunger, his need for this love drove him to put the extra hours in, to just be that workhorse who went above and beyond, who had visions, creative visions, who went above and beyond to see these creative visions through. But ultimately, when you go to the extremes, you find there's a heavy price. There's a price of finding, even being at the top of the world, being the best at what you do, for what you need, love, true unconditional love. It's not enough. Not all the accolades of the material world can fill that void of unconditional love. So we kind of go back, once again, the hero's journey is about going in through this path of individuation, finding what you're good at, finding your competency, and getting some worth from that, but ultimately crossing the threshold, crossing several thresholds, slaying the dragon, which is ultimately the dragon within, slaying your own ego, your own limitation, and getting that holy grail of love that is a unique expression through you, that you only find through your own individuation, but you bring that love back and you offer it to the world with a whole heart. That is the hero's journey. But so much what we find in the Hollywood tales is we find people who just get caught up in the trappings of more and more, and nothing ever being good enough. And then we have the people who idolize the celebrities. You know, there's a belief in many spiritual teachings that this is the devil's world or Lucifer's world. It's a world where people glorify and chase after materialism because they believe by succeeding on the highest level in status and having the most money in the bank, being the most famous, that's going to fill that hole of love. And the love is an unconditional love. It's a love that loves you just because you are, just because you're participating in the life process. This is the love of God. The love of God is that unconditional love that values you as you are, where you are, offering what you are. And it's the great paradox, because once again, we do have that call. We have that call, which some say is the Luciferian spirit, the call to rebel, the call to be apart. Again, we're not called to be sheeple. Most people will find just fitting in and being like everybody else, being told what to do, told what to think. When you put it down in those terms, most adults find that very unappealing. I know I do. There's a time, though, like when we all want to fit in. As children, we don't want to be the outcast, but when the call to adventure comes, the time to rebel, time to step out, that's an essential call for the human spirit to grow in an authentic way. But we always have to come back to that unconditional love. The realization that as we are, who we are loved, we are valued. And that is the ultimate goal. That's the Holy Grail we bring back to the village, which we share through that authentic expression of who we are. So with that being said, I'm going to end this transmission. Hope whoever needs to hear this message gets it. And know that you are loved, no matter what you're going through. Be well.